Hey, Steve with Trimble. And with this connected construction video, we're going to show you how to analyze pre and post tensioning of a slab with Trimble FieldLink. This is the software that runs on the tablet that runs your X9 laser scanner. So we actually have a lot of scans because we're scanning in the white scan too, but we have two different groups in here that we're interested in. There's the pre-tension scans here and the post-tension scans that were turned on. Let me change the section box so we can actually start to see what that looks like when we're around. So we're only going to be able to analyze the slab where the scan can see it. This is a good collection of these scans. We're going to do the same thing for the pre-tension as well too. So we're going to want to make sure that these are all registered and refined, which they are, and that they're also tied into a reference elevation. So let me hide this guy. If I go to the post tension and then I can switch to slab, I can change to the color view. Now it would be nice to have something a little bit better than this, but I have a reference elevation line that I can tie into. That's probably 204 at 11, 15, 16. So that's probably a 5 foot above a 201 elevation for that slab. I'm going to want to see that reference line. And if I do, if I don't have like a piece of tape, I'm not going to be able to see that without color. So I'm either going to want one of those or a tilting target. I usually have one right here on top of a control point so that I can always see it. But if I don't have like that tilting target or a piece of tape there, I will want to collect in color. And I'm going to want to be able to see that reference elevation as I go through. So I can kind of check on each one of these scans to make sure the registration is going well. So why it's important to do the pre-scans is so that I can do a comparison. So I can see what it was initially like. Then I tension it. It's probably going to raise the edges up. Maybe it raises the metal up. Maybe it's perfect. But from here, I can actually, after I set that reference elevation, I can come to the elevation tab in the scan view and just set this range and my reference elevation. And that's how I'm getting this scale bar here. So I can initially, if I wanted to share this with like the GC or someone else, I could just take an image of that. That'll save that. I'd want to do that for the post tension and the pre tension. So I'm going to show you what that looks like as well too. And then the pre tension, I'll turn that one back on. So you can see we only have this side of that floor, and it is not as bowed because it hasn't been tensioned. I keep saying bow because I know that's kind of what happened. So you can do those images, or the other option I can do, and I'm going to turn the pre-tension back off and the post-tension back on. Sorry for all the clicks, but it is pretty simple once you get into it and go through a little bit of training what that looks like. I can send that image. If I wanted to share the scan data of what that is, I can turn on the model, which I believe I have, or maybe I didn't import it. Let me see if I have the model. I do. So I can run a comparison to the model and run an inspection to that. So here, if I turn on the model in blue or solid model, you'll see that. I can run a scan to BIM analysis with that inspection, and that'll colorize the scan for the distance away from the model, kind of giving me a good indication of high and low, and that'll be colorized that I can share through Connect or really on a CAD or BIM platform. So I can bring this down a little bit, call this 3 inches, and I'll turn off some of this gray. So what this is showing me is kind of the same thing we saw inside of with the elevation, but this will be exported. The elevation can also be exported and imported, but this is just kind of showing me it's higher here and around. So I can export that, but generally what most users are going to want are contour points or like survey points that you can compare back to the total station. So I can come in here, create a floor just by the area. It'll actually identify just the floor. I've done that, and I'm just going to refer back to that once. So I don't have to do it again. But this will extract out everything that we see there. Let me turn off the rest of that model so we don't have to look at it. And I can run FFFL on this. Obviously, post tension is probably not on me. I want to do that before it was tension. But I can also do the floor analysis, which this will create a grid line of points to a resolution I set, an elevation, and then a tolerance of a 1/2 inch. So what that's going to do is create all those points for that, and then show me anything red will be a 1/2 inch high, anything a 1/2 inch below that will be blue, but it'll have a sampling of those points. All right, so here are those points. Show me some low areas in the middle, as well as the high edge points near the outside. Those I can create. Actually, I already did that. I can even create that report to share, and share that with GC or whoever, as well as just internally. So those points are created. I actually have them on a separate layer, and they would be the post tension. Going to show me those. They'll be labeled, and also have the elevation with that as well too. So I can start to see, all right, we're getting high over there. And if I did it with the pre-scans, I can actually do that as well too. The pre-tension, where I can start to see how that floor has changed. Both those scans were tied into those reference elevations. I can start to see where that's high there by, 3/8 to 11/16, almost 1/2 inch pull up on the edge there. And confirm that the rest of them are all kind of sitting in the middle or around the same spot, which is kind of what we expected as well too. So thank you. Hopefully this starts to answer your questions on the workflow. If you need to do more analysis or really dig into it, it is good to bring in like RealWorks or TBC to do some more analysis there. But these points can just be shared pretty quickly just from the tablet. It is very important to have access back to a reference elevation to make sure the registration is going well throughout the scans, which we didn't. So this is just for a demo, but please keep that in mind as you keep going forward, and always double check. If you see something that's off, check it with your traditional methods, total station or laser level as well too. But please reach out to your nearest building point representative if you have any questions. If not, make sure that what the engineer called for on that tensioning is correct, and maybe those tendons were a little high, causing that to bow up on the end. Probably not much to do about that because there's a lot going into the slab. But you at least know those problems going forward. Can relay that back to the paneling guys or the glazing guys as they start to work on their stuff as well too. And with the pre-scans, you can show them what the floor you turned over was, what was designed, and the engineering is kind of what it is. Thanks.